Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Privilege Stacking series. Be sure to join the Patreon if you hadn't had a chance to already. The Patreon is linked in my description as well as on my channel page. Like if you just click on the page, it's at the very top. If you join the Patreon, you'll have access to the Discord and stuff. But I want to talk about how to build your pedestal. A lot of women online are literally fighting over a pedestal. They're fighting over social power, they're fighting over social status. And I want to talk about how to build social power and social status. So these tips are going to be in no particular order. But have you ever noticed that a lot of women, they will make talking points like, well, you think you're better than me. In reality, what they really mean is you are more confident than me. I've noticed that's usually what it is. A lot of women who seek after pretty privilege and stuff like that, usually what they really want is they want the confidence that comes with that pretty privilege. They want the emotional state that comes with that pretty privilege. They want the unbothered energy that comes with being a gorgeous woman. And so that is really what the pedestal is. That's really what social power is. It's leverage. It is having the power to walk away. It's having options. So, one thing that you can do to build your pedestal is to write down the compliments that people give you. So, there's this content creator, her name is A Focused Living. She kind of like shouted me out and talked about how I mentioned this in a previous video. And I did mention this. Writing down the compliments that people give you, that's a fantastic way to start building up your own internal sense of self esteem because sometimes other people can see positive qualities that we can't necessarily see in ourselves. And so, what you can do is, let's say you go to work and somebody compliments your shirt. You can go home and write in your journal on August 16th, so and so complimented my blue button up shirt. And then, as you begin to write down all of the different compliments that people give you can actually go back and begin to see a pattern. Oh, wow, I have really good fashion sense because I noticed that I got 15 compliments over the past month about my fashion. Oh, wow, I have really pretty teeth because I got 10 compliments on my smile over the past 2 months. So, writing down compliments that people give you and then going back and reading over them to remind yourself of the positive qualities, that's going to help you to build a sense of validation. Because I've noticed that oftentimes, if a person insults us, if they say something mean to us, we will replay that mean thing that they said in our heads over and over. And so, the whole purpose of writing down the compliments is you're replaying the positive things that people say about you over and over. So, if you are a single woman, let's say you're on a dating app or you're an Instagram influencer or something, even if guys comment on your page or they go in your DMs or on dating apps, you can utilize the same method. If he says, you have a gorgeous smile, you have beautiful cheekbones, you have beautiful hair texture, you can write that down in your journal. You can also add it to your affirmations if you want to. So, like when you're looking back at your journal, you can repeat the same thing that he said to you. I have a beautiful complexion. I have a beautiful hair texture. I have a beautiful body shape. So that's one of the methods you can use to build your pedestal. Rule number two of building your pedestal is to go where you're celebrated. This is a very common thing that a lot of Black women talk about, going where you're celebrated. So, only going to spaces where people celebrate your particular phenotype, your particular skin tone, your particular background, or the special qualities about you. Go to places where people are welcoming towards you. Number three is to get away from supremacists, white supremacists, black supremacists, dark skinned supremacists, light skinned supremacists. Get away from anybody who has a supremacy mindset because people with a supremacy mindset, they suffer from hierarchy thinking. I believe that hierarchy thinking is a mental illness. Obviously, I'm not a real doctor or anything, but I really do think hierarchy thinking, that's actually a mental illness. It promotes victim complexes. It promotes unhealthy self esteem for the people who do not share the same qualities. So get away from anybody who has any sort of supremacy mindset. If they promote dark skin supremacy, get away from them. Light skin supremacy, get away. Biracial supremacy, multiracial supremacy, black supremacy, get away from them. Because not only are they going to be more closed minded, but they're going to be less accepting. And obviously, they're not going to be as encouraging towards beauty that is different than theirs. And so I try my best to stay away from anybody who has any sort of hierarchical thinking. Anybody that makes comments like, "Oh, so and so person looks better than you, and then I look better than her, and then this other person is at the bottom." Anyone who has that sort of rhetoric where it's like one type of person is at the bottom or one race is at the bottom and then this other race is at the top, one skin tone is at the bottom, then the other skin tone is at the top, get away from those people because they don't know how to build their own pedestals first of all. And so they try to build their pedestals by tearing down the pedestals of others. So you definitely want to get away from people like that because they don't know how to celebrate others. They do not support diversity. They're very closed minded. They only think one skin tone can be beautiful. They only think one race can be beautiful, or they think one race is the most beautiful, or one race is superior to the other. So, whether they're a white supremacist or a black supremacist, get away from those people. I don't support any of those talking points on this channel because it's just not healthy for other people's self esteem. Go where you're celebrated. This is a very common talking point amongst Black women. I've noticed that they will tell other unambiguous Black women to go where they're celebrated, but then they get mad when different types of Black women go where they are celebrated. But going to a space where you are welcomed and where you are put on the pedestal or exotified or where you receive your pretty privilege, that's very important when it comes to building your pedestal. So you want to think to yourself, okay, where do I get the most pretty privilege? Do I get a lot of pretty privilege at the bar? Do I get a lot of pretty privilege at work? Because I've noticed that some women, whenever they talk about pretty privilege, especially women who don't have it, they will begin discussing a certain scenario that will tell you where they wanted to receive the pretty privilege. So, for example, remember that girl Ostefco when she made a video called I Don't Have Pretty Privilege and That Sucks? So, she started talking about being in a bar and how she did not receive the pretty privilege. She said her friend, who happened to be an exotical, is the one who received the pretty privilege. That tells me that Ostefco, she wanted the bar version of pretty privilege. She wanted to be the pretty girl at the bar. Bar and club scene beauty standards and bar and club scene pretty privilege is different than pretty privilege in corporate. You know what I mean? So every culture, every place that you go to, every community that you're in, every geographical location you're in, and every ethnicity that you're around has different types of pretty privilege. Beauty is not a monolith. So it's very important when you're building your pedestal for you to ask yourself, where do I want to receive my pedestal? What kind of pedestal do I want? Do I want to be known as the pretty girl? Okay, where do I want to be seen as pretty? At the bar? All right. What is the normal setting in a bar? Usually, women who have nice bodies and wear cute clothes and high heels get pretty privilege at bars. Okay, so being strategic about where you want to have your pedestal, that's going to be very important as well. So that's step 2. It's being strategic and it's planning out ahead of time what type of privileges you want, what type of social privileges. It could be pretty privilege, it could be intelligence privilege, or some sort of social climbing privilege. All of these things are a part of your pedestal. Every single one of your privileges builds your pedestal. So it's really important to think about this. Okay, where do I want to be perceived as pretty? Where do I care the most about my pretty privilege or my social status? Where do I care about having social status? I know that for me personally, my top 4 things are I care about beauty, I care about wealth, I care about influence. So my voice being heard, people listening to me and stuff like that, me getting my story out there. Actually, those are the top 3 things that I care about. Oh, and I also care about relationships, healthy relationships, as in healthy friendships, getting rid of toxic friends and family members. I want every person in my life to be a healthy person that contributes to my mental health. Those are the 4 things that I care about. That's how I build my pedestal. So, those are the 4 pillars to my personal pedestal. What are your pillars to your pedestal? Is beauty a part of it? For me, I mentioned beauty. Okay, so what kind of beauty pedestal do I want? Do I want the Hollywood type of pretty privilege? Do I want Instagram baddie pretty privilege? Do I want the fitness baddie, like an IG fitness model or something? Do I want that kind of pretty privilege? Do I want to be like the pretty soccer mom? I mean, I don't know how old you guys are. I know some of you guys are older, some of you guys have children. Do you want to be the pretty mom at the PTA meetings? There is no wrong answer. So that's the second step of building your pedestal. It's being strategic about where you want your pedestal to manifest and planning ahead of time, because remember, if you don't make a plan, you're planning to fail. And so the women who get what they want, they're planners. They are organized baddies. That's why they're getting what they want. It's because they planned it ahead of time. They plan out their outfits or they plan out their diet so that they don't have to plan their outfits. I know that's what I do. I just plan out my diet so that no matter what outfit I throw on, my body still looks good. So the more of a planner you are, the better it's going to be for you to build your pedestal. The more disciplined and organized you are, and the more beauty hobbies you have, or if you don't want to build a beauty pedestal, maybe you want to build like some sort of social status pedestal. If you have social status building hobbies, the more hobbies you're stacking, the easier it's going to be for you to build that pedestal. So being a planner and also being strategic, that's number 2 and 3. Being strategic about where you want the pedestal, and then number 3, planning ahead of how to build your pedestal. Those are going to be important. So making a plan. What is your schedule like? What are your beauty hobbies? Do you have a deep conditioning routine? Do you have your routine for your nails? Do you know what types of perfume and what type of scent goes with your physical aesthetic? So, for example, that's actually something that I've thought about. Fruity smells, fruity perfume scents actually go with my aesthetic. My personality, I feel like my personality and my beauty and stuff, I feel like I have a very bright look. I love bright colors. I have kind of a brighter skin tone. I prefer brighter lip colors. I like anything that's soft and traditionally feminine. And I love fruit in general, and I tend to look good in berry colors. And so I've noticed that even the berry scented perfumes or fruity perfumes like peach and apple and tangerine, or anything that has a little bit of vanilla in it, like super sweet smelling perfumes, that actually helps me to build my pedestal because I feel like I'm expressing my personality through something as simple as the way that I smell. So, do you see how detailed I just got about my personal pedestal? So, I'm literally building my pedestal partially based on something as simple as a perfume. So, those are the types of things that you can begin thinking about. What perfumes help me to express my femininity? Another way you can actually build your pedestal using femininity is by thinking about your feminine expression. How do you express your femininity? What are your personality traits that make you stand out? Are you super extroverted and bubbly? Are you super sweet and smiley? Like, I know I'm very sweet and smiley. That's what a lot of people tell me. I like to smile a lot. I like to laugh a lot. So I'm very playful. I have a very playful feminine energy. I'm very flirty. Like in the case of dating and stuff, I'm very flirty and like seductive naturally. So what is your feminine expression? Are you a seductive pretty girl? Are you the mysterious, ethereal pretty girl? Are you very into witchy stuff? Are you kind of like this spiritual, exotical? Do you like kind of the long flowy skirts? Maybe you're into the bohemian look. Maybe you're one of those moms. I've seen a lot of moms who can rock the bohemian look for whatever reason. But maybe motherhood has helped you to tap into your nurturing side of your femininity. So, can you play into that with your fashion? Because fashion is one of the really big ways that you can build your pedestal as well. And that leads me into my next point. Build your pedestal via your fashion. What are your skin's undertones? Whether you're light skinned, dark skinned, whether you're white, unambiguously black, what colors look best on your skin tone? Do you have a color that expresses your personality? For some people, they connect their personality to certain colors. Like I've noticed, I feel a personality connection to bright colors and soft colors like pastels. So for other women, they feel a connection to black or like these very sleek, chic, neutral colors. I see a lot of women who can rock neutral colors, like really, it looks so classy on them. Just wearing a white t-shirt looks super classy. They look like a model in a white t-shirt, or they look like a supermodel in a black shirt. So, do you have any specific colors that line up with your personality or that line up with your skin tone, or maybe it really brings out your skin's undertones? Maybe you look really good in gold. I'm actually thinking of Serena Vanderwoodson, Blake Lively. I know that she's under a lot of controversy right now, but I'm thinking of Blake Lively. She very much she looks good in anything in the gold warm family, like the blonde hair, the gold jewelry, kind of these rusty colors. She knows how to dress for her exact body type and for her exact undertones. So that's going to be a part of the way that you build your pedestal as well. It's actually, you can build it with your fashion sense. Thinking about what your body type is. Are you into the whole kibby thing? Like what's your body type? Are you a soft dramatic? Like I know I'm a soft dramatic. I'm very tall. So are you a soft dramatic? Do you look really good with long lines? So, long pants or long sleeves, all of that kind of stuff is going to help you to build your pedestal because your pedestal is all about finding what's special about you and then flaunting it. Stay away from anybody who has a mindset of only one can be beautiful or only one can be at the top and everyone else is at the bottom. Stay away from people like that because they don't value diversity. They don't know how to appreciate beauty that's different than their own. So you want to stay away from those types of people at all costs because they won't be able to appreciate your beauty and your pedestal. And especially if you have a fluid beauty standard, like for me personally, I have a fluid beauty standard. So if I'm around somebody who's a dark skinned supremacist, for example, they're going to get offended if I want to look pale, but you know what I mean? They're gonna get offended if I wanna do blonde maybe or so stay away from anyone who has a supremacist mindset in terms of beauty, culture, race, genetics, hair texture, skin tone, and especially if their supremacy mindset does not match up with your phenotype. And especially if you have a fluid beauty standard as well. Oh, yeah, because they're going to put you down basically. So, for example, let's say somebody is a brown eye supremacist. They think that brown eyes are prettier than all the other eye colors. And then let's say you have a fluid beauty standard and you want to wear some blue contacts one day. You know, maybe there's an event going on. Maybe you have on a blue shirt. You just feel like wearing blue contacts. A person who's a brown eyed supremacist, they're going to make a negative comment about your blue contacts or about your blue eyes. So be sure to stay away from anybody who has a supremacy mindset. One skin tone's prettier than the other. One race is the prettiest. The other races are not. You know, one race is more of the blueprint than the others. The others are inferior genetically or they age worse or the, you know, as a collective they're going to look bad. No. Human beings are not a monolith. Beauty is not a competition. Genetics are not a competition. Pedestals are not a competition. So, a big part of building your pedestal is going to be getting away from people with a hierarchy mindset and also getting rid of the hierarchy mindset within yourself. I've noticed a lot of people, they have a hierarchy mindset in terms of body types. And so, let's say you have a friend who's plus size and her internalized beauty standard is being plus size. She's probably going to put you down if you try to lose weight or she might project her insecurities onto you. So you don't want to be around those types of people. Make sure that you stay around open minded people in terms of beauty. You want to get away from people who don't project their internalized beauty standards onto you. So even though I tell you guys my internalized beauty standard, I make sure to say, hey, there is no right and wrong answer. There is no right way to be beautiful. Yeah, I have a fluid beauty standard, but that doesn't mean that my beauty is better than others or, you know, my beauty is the correct version of beauty and yours is wrong. No, if you prefer your hair to be natural and no makeup at all, then that's your beauty standard and that's okay. So, a really important part of building your pedestal is going to be making sure that nobody's trying to destroy your pedestal. Because sometimes insecure women, they want to destroy another woman's pedestal because they think that it'll somehow make her higher up because they view you as competition. That's why they're trying to do that. So, that's going to be very important in terms of privilege stacking and social climbing. Never let anybody take away your pedestal. And that leads me to number 6, which is to decenter Black women, white women, dark skinned women, light skinned women, decenter other people from your internalized beauty standard. They don't get to determine whether or not you're pretty. They don't get to determine how you should look. They don't get to determine your skin tone identity. If you identify, so for example, I personally do not use that terminology brown skinned. I use the terms light skinned or dark skinned when I'm describing different kinds of Black women. There are some of you guys who use the term brown skin. That's fine. Do not allow me to determine your skin tone identity. Don't allow me or anybody else to determine your skin tone nickname because that's a part of your pedestal. If you want to call yourself cinnamon, some of you guys don't even use the term light skin or dark skin. Some of you guys call yourselves chocolate or whatever nickname, cinnamon colored, brown sugar. You have the right to call yourself by whatever identity builds your pedestal. So if you like calling yourself cinnamon, don't let anybody else tell you that you can't call yourself cinnamon. You get to call yourself whatever you want. You get to identify your skin tone however you see fit. Whatever way builds your pedestal within yourself. That's what you should call yourself. So I've noticed that other people who don't have their own identity, they will argue with you about yours. They'll be like, oh, but you're not a natural blonde. You're dirty blonde. You're not sandy blonde. Oh, but you're not cinnamon. You're this other color. You're chocolate. You're not light skin. You're brown. You're dark brown. You're this. No, don't ever let other people project their identity or their perception of you onto you. So that's another strategy for building your pedestal. It's guarding your identity. So of course, I mean, you can't control what people think of you, but within yourself, just ignore what they're saying. So like for example, let's say somebody tells me, actually people tell me all the time, people come and troll me. They say that I'm fat or whatever. They don't even know who I am, but that's fine. I will just allow them to think whatever they want as long as it doesn't affect my internalized view of myself. That's what matters most, is what I think of myself. So, a big part of building your pedestal is by giving yourself whatever nickname you identify with. And it's nobody's business, also. It's nobody's business what you think your own hair color is. That's nobody's business. You don't have to tell anybody, oh, I think my hair is sandy brown. Oh, excuse me. No, it's not. You're not a sandy brown. Your hair color is 1B. No, you don't have to tell other people what type of pedestal you're building for yourself. You can keep it a secret. You can move in silence. So, within yourself, as a part of your affirmations, because I do this with myself too, like I will call myself different nicknames in my affirmations in the morning. So I've started doing my affirmations again every morning just for fun. So yeah, you can write down in your affirmations, I am a beautiful cinnamon exotical, or whatever your little nickname is for yourself. I'm a beautiful cinnamon exotic mermaid. Like you can make it fun. You can make a fun nickname for yourself. You can create ethereal nicknames for yourself, and it's going to help you to tap in to that pedestal that you're building. So that leads me to step 7. I think I'm on number 7. Think of positive, sexy, seductive, feminine nicknames for yourself and start calling yourself those nicknames in your mind. So, for example, one of my nicknames is I am a mermaid. I don't know why, but I just naturally connect with mermaids. I think mermaids are so pretty. I love the colors. I love the sparkly like blue and teal and like the purples and I don't know. I love mermaids. And I think they have pretty like body shapes and everything. I love how their hair flows down their back and the wind blows in their hair and they have like this ethereal beauty. I connect with that. And so one of my feminine expressions for myself, one of my feminine nicknames, one of my feminine archetypes is the mermaid. So sometimes when I'm getting dressed, especially if I'm wearing blue, actually I'm wearing blue right now. I'm wearing a blue little corset top while I'm recording this. So I like to call myself a feminine mermaid sometimes. I will look in the mirror and be like, "Oh my god, I look like such a mermaid." So that's another way you can build your pedestal. It's by finding ways to connect with different feminine creatures, feminine archetypes, feminine colors, and then adding those to like your nicknames. It's almost like building an alter ego, but I don't like calling it an alter ego because it's not alter. It's a part of me. Like this is me. I am a mermaid. I am a walking, living, breathing mermaid. Another way that you can build your pedestal is to reflect on the beauty of other women who look like you. So, for example, let's say you struggle with insecurity. Let's say when you look in the mirror, you're just over it. You don't know what exactly makes you pretty. Okay, think of somebody else who has your skin tone. It can be an actress or something, or your sister, anybody. Think of somebody else who has your skin tone, your hair texture, your hairstyle to the point where you can see yourself in them. I do this sometimes when I'm thinking of different outfits, like, okay, would this other celebrity, would she look good wearing a pink crop top? Okay, she would look cute in that. Okay, so why wouldn't I? Appreciating the beauty in another woman of your phenotype and kind of looking to her as your muse. If you're not ready to look at yourself as your own muse yet, looking to another woman of your phenotype as your muse, that can help give you ideas for like what colors would look good on you. A lot of women do this naturally, like with the makeup gurus that you watch. Generally speaking, you're probably watching makeup gurus who share your skin tone, or maybe they're within your skin tone range. Maybe they have similar features to yourself. And if not, then I would say you can start doing that. Another thing you can do, so I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but I want to emphasize it. It's building a pretty girl calendar for yourself. So, for example, you know how you go on Pinterest? Well, you might not know this, but you can go on Pinterest and they have all kinds of 30-day challenges, like 30-day hair growth challenge, 30-day ab workout challenge. So you can actually start curating your calendar to build yourself up for, whatever your goals are for your pedestal. So, for example, right now, I am doing a hair growth thing. I mean, I'm always growing out my hair, but like I really want to grow it out to the point where I want my actual hairline to be perfect. I want to see how thick I can get my hairline because my hair is naturally fine. So, I want to see how thick I can get my hair in general. So, I'm using different oils right now, kind of experimenting with it. And I actually have an entire schedule, and I've been taking progress pictures of my hair and, just making it fun. And that leads me to number 9. Make your pedestal and make your routine fun. Being you is supposed to be fun. Your life should be almost like this. You want to make your life into almost like this romanticized version of yourself. You know how people talk about your higher self? Okay, so what that means is you have a version of yourself that you're aspiring to be, right? So think of yourself in your most leveled up state. What does she look like? What does her bank account look like? What does her relationship status look like? Is she single? Is she child free? What does the most leveled up version of you look like? And then you want to start taking the steps to get there, but you also want to make it fun. So, with my hair routine, I actually have fun. I love going to the beauty supply store and kind of browsing all the different oils and seeing which hair oil I want to try. That's fun to me. I love smelling the oils. I'm a weirdo, so I like smelling the different oils. So, there's actually one that I really like. It's the Curls Blueberry Bliss. This is not sponsored. That oil smells so good. It's like a minty blueberry smell. So I love the smell of that oil. It feels good. It tingles when I put it on my scalp. So you want to try to find ways to make it fun for yourself so you're looking forward to your level up journey. I know another thing that I like to do is I like to go on Fashion Nova or Shein or Amazon, and I like to just window shop and browse. I don't actually buy anything, but I like to look at all the cute outfits I'm going to wear when I make a certain amount of money or when I when my body looks a certain way. So I have basically set up a reward system for myself. So, for example, with YouTube, I haven't done it in a while, but for every 1,000 subscribers I gain on YouTube, I will go to a new coffee shop or I'll go to a new smoothie shop and I will get myself a smoothie or a coffee because that's one of my soft life hobbies. I associate the soft life with smoothie bowls and coffee shops because when I was younger, I couldn't afford stuff like that. So I associate luxury with something as simple as a smoothie bowl. So I make smoothie bowls into my reward for my level up journey. That's a part of me building my pedestal because the smoothie bowl represents a stepping stone. Like, hey, I achieved something. I got another 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Or when it comes to the case of getting a clothing item, I used to do this thing where when I was on my fitness journey, like when I was really on my fitness journey, like really getting super skinny, I would every 30 days that I stayed consistent, I would get myself a new workout set. So workout sets, they're not very expensive. It's like $20 or something at most on like Fashion Nova or Shein. So that was my reward for staying consistent. And so it kind of kept me motivated because I was like, yes, in 30 days, I'm going to look so cute with my little cross back, my little racer back top. That's going to look so cute when I go hiking. So I set up an entire system to keep myself motivated. That's another part of building your pedestal. It's by setting up a reward system for yourself, setting up a way to keep yourself disciplined and inspired. And that leads me to number 9, which is finding different forms of inspiration. So, one of the things that I do is on my refrigerator right now, I actually have one of those magnetic calendars where you just put it on your fridge and then you get a Sharpie and like you can write stuff down. I have like a little goal setting thing on my fridge. So, I write down my to do list. And that's one of the ways that I kind of remind myself to stay on track. But I like to have multiple forms of inspiration. So I also have a Pinterest board. I have a public one, I have a private one. So sometimes I will just scroll Pinterest. Like today, I'm such a basic bitch. I was scrolling Pinterest today because after this, I'm actually going to reward myself. I'm going to go get a Starbucks drink. I love Starbucks. Starbucks for life. No, I do not F with Dunkin' Donuts. So don't even ask. If you F with Dunkin' Donuts, we cannot be friends. No, I'm kidding. But so today I was actually scrolling Pinterest looking for the secret menu Starbucks drinks. I know a lot of people say they don't have a secret menu, but you know what I mean. If you are a basic bitch, you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Starbucks secret menu. Okay. No, I'm not acting white. I am enjoying a part of my cultural background, okay? um, but yeah, you can like do different things to keep yourself inspired. So I love going on my Pinterest board and seeing all of the beautiful things that represent what makes me special. So one of the ways that I receive micro validation is from my cultural background. So a part of my cultural background is coffee culture. Yes, coffee has an entire culture surrounding it, just like how wine has an entire culture. Like some people, they do wine tastings, they know about vineyards, they know about all the different flavors of the wines, and they can have a whole conversation about wine. So for me, I don't drink or smoke. So I can't have a conversation with you about breweries or about different vineyards and stuff like that, but I can have a conversation about coffee. So that's one of my special things that I associate with the soft life. Remember how I said I associate coffee and coffee culture with like pedestals and soft life? Because in the past, a lot of people would make fun of me, like men in the past, like cheap, broke men. They used to make fun of me and be like, who drinks a $7 coffee? Why would you spend $10 on coffee? Well, I like luxury coffee. I know Starbucks, I don't consider Starbucks to be luxury, actually. I used to, but now I don't. I consider it to just be like basic. But anyway, I like going on my Pinterest board and seeing the secret menu for Starbucks or seeing like princess outfits. You guys know that the princess, that is one of the ways I express my femininity as well. I resonate heavily with the princess archetype. And so that's why in a lot of my images, you see a lot of princess looking women, lots of black princesses and stuff. You'll see a lot of that on my imagery because that's me expressing my femininity. That's me expressing my pedestal because a part of my pedestal is actually this YouTube channel. And so I want to express myself and my femininity in everything that I do. So my Pinterest board, that's a part of my inspiration. So on my Pinterest, I have like the secret Starbucks menu drinks on there. I have like princess outfits and stuff. I have different outfit ideas on my Pinterest board. I have like different challenges and affirmations on my Pinterest board. So that's another strategy you can use to build your pedestal. You can curate your algorithms, you can curate your Pinterest and stuff to make sure that it only shows things that contribute to your glow up journey. Make sure that it only shows things that contribute to your pedestal. This YouTube channel is specifically curated to bring validation to any woman that can relate to myself. That's literally why I created this YouTube channel. I mean, I created it for other reasons as well, such as money, creative expression, and stuff like that. But my agenda with you watching this is I am here to validate your beauty, to validate your existence, to remind you of who you are, to help you to get out of the supremacist spaces, whether they're black supremacists or white supremacists or biracial supremacists. This channel is not supposed to be any of those things because I know how being in a supremacist environment, it can actually contribute to insecurities. Some people think that I'm a supremacist, but I'm actually not because I have a fluid beauty standard. So that's why sometimes you'll hear me talking about tanning my skin. Other times you'll hear me talking about my skin being as light as possible because my standard is fluid in terms of my beauty standard. But there are some people where maybe they have a signature beauty standard, but if they're not careful, they can start getting into a supremacy mindset and they could start projecting their beauty standards onto you. So that's another way to build your pedestal, by the way, and to protect your pedestal is to never try to project your internalized beauty standard onto someone else ever, because no two people are exactly the same. So, like for me personally, I'm tall. I love being tall. I prefer, that's my internalized beauty standard. Being a tall woman, I prefer a tall man, obviously. But I would never tell a petite short woman, "Hey, shut up. You'll never be as pretty as me because you're short." Or, "I don't think you're that pretty because you're short." No. She gets to have her own internal beauty standard. If her beauty standard is being tall, she gets to put on some high heels and be tall. That's great. Another way that you can protect your pedestal is do not build the pedestal of other people who don't build your pedestal. So, for example, I've noticed that some women, they want me to acknowledge their beauty, but then they don't acknowledge mine. So, you want me to acknowledge dark skin beauty, but you don't acknowledge light skin beauty. You want me to acknowledge unambiguous beauty, but you don't acknowledge mixed beauty. You know what I mean? Sometimes people, they want you to acknowledge their pedestals, but they don't acknowledge yours. And so, one of the ways you can protect your pedestal is to get away from people like that. Get away from people who want to be an energy vampire of your pedestal. So, they want you to build their pedestal. They want you to build their social status. They want you to put them on. They want you to promote their image. They want you to support their image, but then they don't support yours. A part of building your pedestal is this ties into going where you're celebrated. So only staying in spaces where they welcome you, where they appreciate your beauty, where they promote your beauty. I think I'm on number 10 of building your pedestal. One thing you can do is remembering people's names. Whenever you meet someone, whether it's at the grocery store, in a work setting, in a bar setting, friendship setting, remembering a person's name really goes a long way. Oh, hey Scott, it's really good to see you again. How have you been? That makes you look classy. It makes you look like you stand out. It makes you look like you're very intelligent, like you're very caring and kind. And also, people love hearing their names. People love knowing that you notice them, and it makes people notice you. So this contributes to your social status and it makes people more likely to remember your name because they're like, "Oh, wait, wow, she remembered my name. Okay, what was her name again?" So, something as simple as remembering people's names, that helps people to like open up to you more quickly. I've really worked on this over the years, like really going out of my way to remember names. I'm pretty good with names now. So, I remember people's names and then they're always really flattered and they're like, "Oh wow, so what was your name again?" "Okay, Exoticals United." And I've noticed that it makes people want to help me. It makes people want to do favors for me. So that all contributes to my pedestal because they are viewing me in a positive light. It's increasing my social status because I'm coming off as somebody who cares about who you are. And I mean, I do care, but I'm saying even if you don't care, that is a social status tool that you can use. That's a social climbing tool, remembering somebody else's name. Number 11 is you can actually start to take up hobbies, just hobbies in general. It could be gardening. I recommend doing a solo hobby. So, gardening could be a solo hobby, having a garden in your apartment or something or in your backyard. I recommend doing a solo hobby, a feminine hobby, and a co ed hobby. Or at least that's what I did. That was a part of my pedestal building process. So, my solo hobby is journaling. That's one of my solo hobbies. I also love uh, listening to audiobooks or reading. That's more of a solo hobby. My feminine hobbies are things like yoga. I feel like anytime I go to a yoga class or some sort of dance class, Zumba, whatever, pole dancing, I've done pole classes. Those are more feminine hobbies because all the people in the class are going to be women, or that's where I make friends. And then a co-ed hobby. So some of my co-ed hobbies are like hiking groups, maybe going like to a running group if they have any in your city, or some sort of volleyball group, playing sand volleyball, beach volleyball, going to a biking meetup. I recommend doing all three because all three of those things enhance your pedestal. Remember, the strongest pedestals are pedestals where you have an internal pedestal and an external pedestal. So, have you ever noticed how the women who only have an external pedestal, they get very intimidated by you? Why? Because you have an internal pedestal as well. They only have one pedestal, you've got two. So I recommend having a solo hobby, a feminine hobby, as well as a co ed hobby because then you're building your pedestal solo. You've got other women, other feminine women who help you tap into your femininity even more. And then you've got the co ed hobby if you enjoy male micro validation, which I do as well. I'm decentered, but I do enjoy maybe like micro validation. So, for example, if you want to have a boyfriend or something, as opposed to oh my God, my whole life revolves around having a boyfriend. If I don't have a boyfriend, I'm going to be depressed. No, that means you don't have any sort of internal pedestal. You're depending on the boyfriend to build your whole entire pedestal. Also, notice how I went over 30 minutes before I even mentioned anything about men because I don't want your pedestal to be based on men. I want it to be really based on yourself. And then other people are supposed to just provide more of a micro validation. They're supposed to complement you. That's why it's called a compliment. It's supposed to complement the self esteem that's already there. Number 12 is to stop avoiding problems. So I've noticed a lot of women, they have a tendency to give up. Let's say you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Maybe you did one or two videos, the videos didn't pop, and so now you're giving up. A part of building your pedestal is resilience. So you really, really want to prioritize that. And by the way, all the stuff I'm saying, it's in no particular order. One is not more important than the other. They're all equally important. So building resilience, that is so important because if you're going to be on a pedestal, you're automatically going to be a walking target anyway. People are already going to be pissed off at the fact that you survived. They're already going to be pissed off at the fact that you started the business. And so building that resilience and knowing how to face problems head on and knowing how to overcome setbacks, that is so important. That's such a valuable quality. That's probably my favorite quality about myself. I'm just being honest. One of my favorite qualities about myself, one of my best qualities is my resilience. I know how to bounce back like a motherfucker. You won't be able to crush me. You can't crush my self-esteem. You can't crush my like you won't break my soul, just like Beyonce said. So, having resilience, knowing how to overcome emotional problems, knowing how to overcome your financial problems, knowing how to overcome your physical problems. Maybe you have a bad relationship with food. So, I recently discovered so I've been doing like a little bit of intermittent fasting lately. So intermittent fasting is when you don't eat for a certain time during the day. I've just been kind of experimenting, kind of playing around with it, playing around with my diet, seeing how my body feels. First of all, I love how my body feels when I'm not constantly digesting food. But another thing I noticed was, so yesterday I was recording for YouTube and my computer was messing up and I got so pissed off. I called Apple, I called Final Cut Pro. It took me over 5 hours to fix the problem and I got really frustrated. And I noticed that the more frustrated I became, the more I wanted to eat food. I noticed that, like, when I became super annoyed, I saw a really big thing of trail mix. I have trail mix on my counter in my kitchen. That's where I record my videos. I record my videos in the kitchen. So I saw this big thing of trail mix and I really just felt the urge to start munching on the entire thing of trail mix. And for those of you who are into trail mix like me, you know that there's healthy trail mix and then there's like the candy where it's basically not trail mix. It's just straight up M&Ms and M's and salted peanuts. By the way, Target has the best trail mixes. Shout out to you. If you are into Target, I love Target. I am a Target bitch. Anyway, the Monster trail mix from Target, like all of their trail mixes are by far the best trail mixes ever, but they're also extremely unhealthy. Like it's not nutritious. It has a little bit of protein in it, but it's basically candy. So anyway, I noticed that when I got stressed out because it took me 5 hours to fix my laptop, I had this immediate urge to binge on candy and trail mix. And so knowing how to overcome problems like that, that is not a Target problem. That's not a trail mix problem. That is an emotional problem. And I'm glad that I pinpointed it in myself. I did not end up binging, but having resilience to move past your problems or knowing how to identify your own toxic traits, that's a huge part of building your pedestal because people respect a woman who knows her own flaws and a woman who is working on herself. People respect that shit. You can't really say anything about a woman who exposes herself. You can't really expose a woman who already exposes herself. If she already knows her own flaws and she's already working on those flaws, you can't really have a gotcha moment with that woman. You can't really crush that woman. You can't crush her spirit because she's already working on building her spirit. And so that's really important to building your pedestal. It's knowing how to push past your own emotional problems, knowing what your own emotional weaknesses are. So, like for me, I didn't know that I still had a little bit of an emotional thing with food. I didn't know that I still had a little bit of a bad relationship with food to where I viewed food as comfort. I was looking for food as a form of emotional comfort. I didn't know that I still had that, but apparently I did. So I'm glad that I caught myself and that's a part of building my pedestal because now I am heavily aware of that. And so whenever I feel stressed out, I can ask myself, okay, am I actually hungry right now? Do I actually need this extra snack or am I just stressed out and like looking for comfort? Because eating trail mix, that's not going to fix my laptop. So building resilience, that's a huge part of having a pedestal and also pushing past setbacks. Like let's say you have a business and your business is not popping yet. Maybe you wrote a book, your book isn't selling yet. Having the courage to keep on going, having the strength to be vulnerable, it actually takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of femininity. One of the most beautiful aspects of femininity, I know for me, one of my favorite parts of femininity is showing vulnerability, showing strength, yet also showing vulnerability. I know a lot of Black women say they don't like being strong. I love being strong. And that's because I don't associate strength with just being masculine. I don't associate strength with being toxic masculine. I associate strength with, having courage. Being vulnerable takes strength. It takes emotional strength to be able to be vulnerable enough to share your weaknesses or to share your insecurities or to bounce back if something bad happens. I feel like it takes a lot of emotional strength to share your story. So like the women who share story times on here and stuff, like and they share like the things that they've been through, or the women who they they let others think whatever they want and they just let it roll off their back. That takes a lot of strength. That's actually very strong. Being vulnerable requires strength. And so that's actually a huge part of building your pedestal as well. Knowing when to be vulnerable, when to not be vulnerable, knowing when to open up, when to be closed off, kind of having discernment and having intuition. Somebody in the Discord, they were talking about intuition privilege, and I'll probably do a video on that eventually. But being able to follow your intuition, being intuitive, knowing how to feed off of other people's emotional energy or feed off of their vulnerability, and then knowing who is safe to open up to and like knowing when to open up, that is a very beautiful, very feminine quality. I mean, it takes a lot of strength to be emotionally naked. So I'm thinking of SZA, the singer. I think a part of the reason why SZA is successful with her music, it's not her singing, it's not her dancing, although I love her singing as well, but it's really her lyrics. I also like her production too. But her lyrics, the emotional vulnerability that is required for SZA to, her sharing all of that stuff about her emotional state. Same thing with Summer Walker. I'm thinking of Summer Walker as well. Those are two of my favorite artists. I know that some of their music can be very toxic. I do have to take a break from listening to them sometimes, but they're still my favorites. Um, it takes a lot of strength to be that emotionally vulnerable. And I've noticed that some black women online, for example, they might start off being vulnerable and they might start off by saying, I hate my skin, I hate my hair, I hate being black or whatever. And I would say that if first of all, if you're being vulnerable, you do want to give context to your vulnerability. I recommend reading Brene Brown's books. Like definitely look into Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. I've read quite a few of her books. I've watched her TED Talks and stuff like that. She does a really good job talking about vulnerability and how to use it to your advantage. There's actually something very inherently feminine about being emotionally vulnerable. So if femininity is a part of your pedestal, it's a part of mine. I wouldn't say it's a really huge part of my pedestal, but it is a part of mine. And so being emotionally vulnerable, being able to talk about your weaknesses, but also not backtracking whenever people call out those weaknesses later on, that's actually very feminine. So, for example, I have come on here and I've talked about feeling othered. I've talked about my insecurities on here. I talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Anytime somebody trolls me online and they're like, well, you were insecure about this, or you did that, or, you used to be, you weren't always that skinny. You used to like have a little bit of hips. You used to have a little bit of this. I don't let it get me angry because I don't regret being vulnerable. I've noticed that for women who use vulnerability as a part of their femininity, like me, if you want to be vulnerable, you got to stand 10 toes down on being vulnerable. So you can't be vulnerable and then when trolls come, then you get mad and angry and then you go off YouTube or something like that, or then you blow up on people or you cuss people out because they didn't respond well to your vulnerability. That's a part of being vulnerable. You know why? It takes strength and courage to be vulnerable. The women who can't be vulnerable are actually the biggest cowards. The women who can never admit their insecurities to themselves or others or whatever, those women are actually the biggest cowards. And guess what? People can't relate to them either. And so this is why I'm actually thinking of Jackie Ina. I have a video coming out on her soon. I don't know if it'll be released by the time this one is released or not, but like in the case of Jackie Ina, for example, her brand is very focused on being aspirational, like luxurious and stuff like that. She doesn't have very much vulnerability in her brand. And so that's why a lot of people are turning on her because she's not very relatable. Vulnerability makes you relatable. So if Jackie Ina would have come online and said, hey, I didn't want you guys to talk about my marriage because I'm kind of insecure about the fact that he makes less money than me. And, it makes me feel bad. And I don't want to talk about that. People would have responded totally differently if she would have said something like that versus simply blocking people. So vulnerability is actually a huge, huge part of building your pedestal as a woman. If you are utilizing femininity to build your pedestal, vulnerability is a huge part of that. But I would say if you're going to be vulnerable, you gotta stand 10 toes down in your vulnerability. You can't just tiptoe and then you say one vulnerable thing, and then when people troll you, you get mad and vicious towards them. No, no, no. If you want to be vulnerable, be vulnerable. Pick a struggle. Do you want to open up to people? Do you want them to see your emotional state or not? If not, that's okay. But if you do, then you just have to be authentic. Vulnerability is a part of authenticity. And that leads me to number 12, authenticity. That's a part of how you build your pedestal. Being authentically yourself, whether it's personality wise, whether it's fashion wise, whether it's the hairstyles that you wear. I've noticed a lot of women, they like to police other women's makeup. They police other women's hairstyles. I would say that like it kind of depends on the context. So for me, I try to find a balance between my social climbing goals and my authenticity. So for example, I know that a lot of men, they like vampy makeup. So for example, lipstick, smoke, yeah, I'm thinking of Meg the Stallion's makeup, okay? So a lot of men, they like vampy makeup. They think it looks sexy, right? But vampy makeup, that's not my favorite makeup look. So if I don't like it, I don't really care if men like it or not because I'm not male centered. So a part of my authenticity is sticking to the exact makeup that I prefer the most because I'm the first priority because it's my life, it's my makeup, it's my face. And then as a secondary priority, then I can think about my social climbing goals. So that's a part of having authenticity. It's putting yourself first, putting your own thoughts and viewpoints first. And that leads me to number 13. Do not ever blindly follow anybody. I tell you guys all the time, I am not an advice channel. Never blindly follow anybody on the internet. Do not look to me as your guru. All of my content is just speculation. It's me just talking. It's us bouncing ideas off of each other. This is more of like a girl talk style channel. This is more like your guilty pleasure, like a shit talking channel. This is more so the shit talking secret channel that you watch. So if anybody in real life asks you if you watch Exoticals United, say no. Okay. So that's what this is supposed to be. I'm not I'm not your leader. I am not your guide. I'm not the person that can tell you what to do because you know yourself better than I know you. You know what's best for you better than I do, right? So that's another part of building your pedestal. It's by making yourself the boss. It's by taking your position as the boss. Number 14, understand you're the prettiest woman in the world. You're the smartest woman in the world. You're the baddest bitch in the world. You are the alpha female. You are the queen. You are the princess. You know why? Because it's your world. You're the only one living it. You're the only one who is living your life. You're the only girl in your world. So, yes, you are the prettiest girl in the world because you're the only one who's living in your body. You're the only one who's living in your mind, right? I would hope that other people aren't living rent free in your mind. So this is why I say that I'm not offended when other women say, "Oh, I'm the baddest bitch alive. I'm the prettiest girl in the world. I'm the baddest bitch in the world." I'm not offended when other women say that because I agree with them. You should be the baddest bitch in your world. You should be the prettiest girl in your world because it should be your world. It shouldn't be I'm living in somebody else's world. I'm living in the white man's world. I'm living in a man's world. You know how people they bring in these hierarchy mindsets. Oh, you are whatever the police think you are. You are whatever the dominant society thinks you are. What do you mean by dominant society? You mean white people? No, white people don't get to determine my identity. They don't get to be the core of my self esteem. Police officers don't get to be the core of my self esteem. They don't get to determine my identity. Men do not get to determine whether I'm a five, a six, a seven, a two, a three. No, this is my world. So I'm the queen of my world. And I'm not saying you have to go and tell everybody else that this is what you think of yourself, but I do believe that you should secretly think, "Hey, I'm the prettiest girl in the world," because you are. You are the prettiest girl in the world because it's your world. You're the only one who's living in your thoughts. You're the only one who's living in your mind. You're the only one who is looking in the mirror at yourself. So it's your world. You're the only person in it. You were born alone, you're going to die alone. So yeah, you are the prettiest girl in the world. You should think that way. You determine your reality, right? And that leads me to number 15. I think I'm on 15, using spiritual practices or mental health practices to your advantage. So if you're spiritual, let's say you believe in manifestation, crystals, I don't know, hoodoo, voodoo, Christianity, Buddhist, whatever, using your meditation time, your prayer time, your declaration time, your affirmations, all of that, using all of those things to your advantage to build yourself up. If you believe in manifesting, I do believe in the general concept of manifesting. I love practicing kind of like manifesting beauty, manifesting freebies. I actually love manifesting freebies. So some of my affirmations are like, people love giving me free stuff. People love offering me free coffees because I love coffee. So people love buying me things. I attract men who are providers or protectors, or I attract generous friends. I attract generous people into my life. I love utilizing kind of like different spiritual techniques or mental health techniques to help me at building my pedestal. Number 16, way to build your pedestal is to never be lazy. Get rid of get rid of any laziness. I've noticed that a lot of people with victim mindsets, they're really just lazy women. There are no ugly women, just lazy women. I really am a firm believer that most women are not ugly, they're just lazy. If you do not have any like super deformed parts of your face, you're probably not ugly. You're probably just you have acne or you're just overweight. It's something that you can change or fix. Or maybe you just need a surgery to meet your internalized beauty standard. Or you can simply change your internalized beauty standard. But I feel like changing your internal beauty standard doesn't really work. I kind of feel like that's performative when people say that, oh, just change what you think. Well, no. I mean, most people they're affected by their external environment. So depending on what kind of environment you want to be in, depending on what kind of treatment you want. Because remember, whatever your beauty standard is, that reflects the type of treatment you want. So, for example, my beauty standard is I'm influenced by the Hollywood beauty standards. I'm influenced by Instagram and social media beauty standards. I am influenced by bar and club beauty standards. I will say the male gaze is a part of my beauty standard as well. I'm influenced by the fashion industry, kind of like the early 2000s Y2K fashion industry, because that's a part of my childhood. So I'm very aware of what's influencing me. And I know exactly what type of beauty I want to attain, and I know exactly how I want to be treated. So, yes, I want to be treated like an early 2000s supermodel. I want to be treated like a 2000s video vixen. That's how I want to look. That's the type of pretty privilege I want to manifest. I want to be able to look like an IG baddie when I do my workout. Like I've noticed that my fitness beauty standard is more like the IG baddie. So I love having the matching sets with like the little booty leggings and like that's my internalized beauty standard. So I'm very aware of that. What is your internal beauty standard and how do you want to be treated? So that's number 16. Think about how you want to be treated and think about who you want to put you on that pedestal. Do you want men to put you on a pedestal? I'm going to be completely honest. I love being put on a pedestal in terms of how I am treated in male spaces. I'm just being completely honest. I love how my boyfriend treats me. I love that he treats me with respect and kindness. I love that he takes me places and stuff and he's a gentleman. I love the visibility that I receive. So it's very important to be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. In fact, don't tell anybody. Keep it a secret. It's nobody else's business. How do you want to be treated by men? How do you want to be treated at work? I noticed that I don't want to be at a workplace at all. So it took me a long time to realize that, but I've noticed a part of my pedestal is not having to work in a 9 to 5. It's having my own source of income where I'm the boss. That's a part of my pedestal is being a boss babe or whatever. That is a part of my internal pedestal, being my own boss. Or, I care about the femininity aspect. I do care about relationships and stuff, but I've noticed that I also care about independence as well. I care about having both. I'm the type of girl that wants to have it all. I don't want just one or the other, either be a trad wife or be single and lonely and bitter. No, I believe that I can have it all. That's a part of my pedestal that I'm building for myself. I want to be the girl that has it all. Well, I want to have all that I want to have. I don't want kids or anything, but that's very important. Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? What kind of pedestal do you want? For some women, they literally have kids as a way to build their own pedestal. I don't necessarily agree with that because I'm child free. I don't believe that women should have kids to meet their emotional needs. I think that's pretty selfish and cringy, but you may want to think about stuff like that. What do you want and why do you want it? Do you want to be worshiped in terms of how you're treated by your dates? Are you tired of getting ghosted or something for those of you who are dating? Or do you want to just not date at all? Just take men out of the picture altogether? Just focus on your career for the next few years? That's going to be another part of how you build your pedestal. It's thinking about that and making a plan. Another way that you can build your pedestal is to go to the proper geographical locations. Are you an LA 6 but a North Dakota 10? You know what I mean? Like, are you considered average in the Latin community and you're considered gorgeous in the Black community? Are you considered gorgeous in the white community and considered ugly in the Black community? Um, Understanding other people's internalized biases and understanding how you're perceived, that's going to help you build your pedestal as well, because you can profit off of other people's internalized biases. This is something that Shira Seven talks about a lot. So I saw that people got offended about her comments on wigs, wearing wigs or wearing type 2 hair and stuff like that. All she's talking about is how to benefit off of other people's internalized biases, like how to benefit financially, socially. So that's something to think about. Do you care about that? Do you care about having a pedestal with a particular ethnic group? That's something you can think about. Why do you want a pedestal in the white community and not the Black community, for example? There is no right or wrong answer. That's just something to ask yourself. Do you value the white community more than the Black community? Do you think that white men are better than Black men? Like, do you think white men are more attractive than Black men? What is it? What do you value in terms of men, for example? Um, uh, in terms of relationships, again, what do you value? Like your sex life? I've noticed that I value my sex life. I can't sleep with a guy who I am physically repulsed by. So I care about the man that I'm with being attractive and me being very attracted to him. It can't just be some basic lukewarm attraction. I can't do it. And so I'm willing to meet both my internalized beauty standard as well as the externalized beauty standard of that particular type of man that I like, which I have. So that's something that you can ask yourself as well. And like I said, there is no wrong answer because you get to prioritize, okay, how much do I care about the male gaze? How much do I care about relationships? Do I deeply care about it? Do I not give a fuck at all? Do I enjoy the social power? That's another way that you can build your pedestal, asking yourself, what type of social power do I want? Do I want to have leverage in my relationships? Because did you know that being pretty, not only does it give you leverage with dating options, but it actually gives you leverage within a relationship. And that leads me to my next point, which is decentering men. Decentering men actually gives you leverage within the relationship because you're not desperate to keep that man. You're not so clingy and like cringy to where you're like compromising who you are and stuff, or like, risking abuse and stuff just to keep that man. So there are different aspects of social power that you can dive into as well. What kind of social power do you want? Do you want the social power that comes with being a seductress? I've noticed that I love the seductress. Maybe it's the Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. So maybe it's that side of me. I love the seductress side of the social power. Like I love that the seductiveness. I don't like seducing just anybody, but I know that for some women, you like stepping into that sexy power. Maybe you like posting on Instagram, posting a cute bikini pic or something like that. For me, I like the flirtiness. I like the psychological, the psychological seduction. I notice I really like that. That's a part of my pedestal. That's a part of my social power. It's that flirty energy. It's the eye contact. It's the psychological. Oh my god, I sound like such a dork. It's the psychological seduction. I notice that I like that. That's a part of my personalized pedestal. So, what is your pedestal? Is your seduction style is it based on your body? Is it based on your skin? Is it based on your makeup? Is it based on your eyes? Maybe I'll do a whole video on that as well. How to build your seduction like pedestal if you want that. Because I think that seduction actually goes past just the male gaze. I think seduction, like sales, that's a form of seduction. A doctor walking around in a white coat and then you kind of looking at the doctor as if the doctor has more authority and intelligence, you're giving that doctor social power. That's a form of like seduction and hypnosis. Now we're really getting super like woo woo. I sound very like spiritual today. I love this. But yeah, so anyway, those are some of the ways that you can think of how to build your pedestal. What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.